Lovely. Morning, everybody. So, just take a few moments to settle in. If you happen to be watching this on the recording, and especially if you're new to Tai Chi, go nice and easily, and just always remember that this is not meant to be a boot camp. A lot of what we're doing is learning to listen to our bodies, and there's no point in learning to do that if you're just going to ignore what your body's telling you. So there's a place for kind of persevering, of course, but also sometimes we might need to just sit back and just sort of watch, maybe, or engage with it in a different way. So basic posture, to have your feet directly below your hips, so your upper body's got the support from your legs. Wait a little bit forward, just let your hips sink back. And to start off with, just rubbing your hands together. And you're really just starting that process of both physically warming your body up, you get the energy to flow, but also to bring your attention more deeply into your body. Use the pads of your fingers to tap your face. Nice and loosen your jaw. It's a light movement over your base. And begin to work up over your head with the palms of your hands, over and down to your neck. Down to one shoulder, just tapping the shoulder, feel the muscles vibrating underneath. Work down the inside of your arm and up the outside. And then down the shoulder, down the inside, and up the outside. Bring your hands, or one hand or both hands, around your back, very light. You go over the lower part of your back. A steady rhythm. Again, feel the muscles beginning to vibrate a bit. Going around your hips. I'm using my fists here. You can use the palms of your hands if that's easier. Going down the outside of your legs, up the inside. And then nice and light on your belly. Again, I'm using my palms of my hands here. And upper part of your chest. And chin. So from this basic posture, just beginning to focus your attention to the middle of your body, hips and waist. Turn in there, let your arms hang down, arms feeling quite heavy, and feeling pulling your arms around. As you do this, just try and notice small changes of movements, patterns of movements, maybe in your back, on your sides, on your shoulders. Feel how your body is supported by your legs, and then back now, recognize that your back and your spine support the front of your body. So try not to pull your belly in, tighten your chest, and you'll find that that will really help the movement flow and have all sorts of movement. Breathing, remember, is a form of movement, circulation. These will all benefit from a posture that is less tight, more spacious, that allows a freer movement. Some more subtle awareness of the underlying patterns, the underlying energy of the movements. These are all things that we develop and cultivate in the different exercises that we do in different ways. So we're just preparing the ground, both physically in terms of posture, movement, but also in terms of the awareness and intentionality that we bring to the movement. Even putting it like that is a bit from the state, really, because the suggestion there is that somehow these things are distinct from each other. But these three aspects of the art, the physical body, this is clearly very physical bodied art, but one that engages our awareness and our intentions, and mind is a factor here. And there's a movement on various levels, as I've pointed out. And these three aspects, we can look at them separately. We might find a way into the whole art, but think of them as being like three legs of a tripod. You have a tripod that you maybe put a camera or a telescope on. You need all three legs. They support each other. One leg drops off, the whole structure collapses. So the ultimate aim is really to get to a point where, well, like the camera, to drawing on all three aspects equally. Moment shoulders very loose, your arms just following. We're not trying to make a particular shape or anything with the arms. But now when we come to do that, turn your hands palm forwards, raising your hands no higher than your shoulders. Notice that my elbows are hanging down. And try not to stiffen up in big muscles of your arms and your shoulders. Give them the feeling for how, again, your body is able to support your postures and your stances. And then now, keep the width of your step, take a short step forwards and begin to push your weight forwards and backwards. People who are a bit more experienced in this, you'll remember that it's push is perhaps the most basic way of looking at this, but remember that sense of springiness in your legs that hopefully you're beginning to develop. Nice steady rhythm. The movement comes from the ground, the energy comes from the ground. And then on the other side, nice and easy, soft the hips, the knees. And again, try not to stiffen up in the big muscles of your legs. And shake. So coming back to the parallel stance, feet are hip width apart, toes pointing forwards, and I come a little bit closer so that you can see. I'm going to exaggerate this slightly for people who are not familiar with this. Your weight actually comes forwards, a bit more weight in the front of your feet. And that feeling of angling forwards here is neutralized by just allowing your hips to settle back. You get the feeling of your pelvis dropping. This is rooting down. Our center of gravity dropping into the ground. So it's almost as though we're squatting, but it's actually quite a small movement. Just a very slight curve in the knees. We will bend the knees more, but really it's what we're trying to do is to get comfortable in this posture. That again allows your weight to drop, allows more space in the body. So for instance, as your hips drop, there's space for your rib cage to drop into. As your rib cage drops, shoulders can drop into the space left behind. Again, aware of how you're supported and increasingly aware of the support that comes from within the skeleton surrounding area, supporting you from within, so that we begin to recognize that we don't need this stiffness, this tightness. So with those ideas in the back of the mind, just let your hips drop back a little bit more, try not to push your knees forwards. And then feel how your legs start to push up. Again, the movement, the energy coming from the ground. We allow gravity to just draw our hips down. And then nice, easy push upwards of expanding out of the ground, growing out of the ground, and then settling down. So, two broad stages to the movement, the contraction movement that is inward, downward, yielding to the gravity, and then the movement upwards, the expanding energy. Bring your hands around as though you're cradling the ball, sinking down, and as you push up, that expanding energy, expanding movement, pushing your elbows out, turning your hands over, let your hips drop, let your shoulders dropping, hands drop, rooting down, and then push up. Legs, spine lengthening slightly and contracting. Maintaining that quality of attention, which is one of the things that leads to this very calm, quiet quality in the movement. So it's one of the real benefits of the art. Just noticing the changes in the body. We use a variety of images as always in Tai Chi, and one of the most common ones is someone moving through water. This encourages us to move without tightening up, as we would do quite naturally for most of us in water. It also helps to build the stronger feeling within the movement and the flow of the movement. So if it's an image that works for you, it's a really useful image that points us at some of the long-term qualities that we want to try and cultivate in this art. Don't have your hands too far from your body. They're not out there, they're here in this particular exercise. Breathing, just falling into a comfortable pattern, no particular breathing pattern here. Let's do one more. And then at the bottom of the movement, turning your hands so your fingers point away, push up. We can still use that image of moving through water, but this exercise is called the wild goose. So there's an additional quality there that offers anything to you, the smoothness of the movement, the grace, gain the strength. Remember that not all images are going to work for you. So if an image doesn't work, don't feel that you've somehow failed. Sometimes it might be appropriate to investigate an image a little bit more. But for the moment, I would just say if an image doesn't work, then use a different image. Bird in flight doesn't work for you, maybe go back to the image moving in water or vice versa. And again, just beginning to notice how our bodies respond to imagery. Now this time, letting your hands drop down. This is a movement called parting the clouds. Elbows going out, drawing your fingers around in a smooth circle, perhaps reminiscent of those times when on a grey day, sun comes out from behind clouds, nice, expansive, opening, perhaps even warm feeling. Now, some images are very specific to a particular exercise, others more general. do one more of these. And go back to the first, they're doing it into the sequence. They're rooting down. Try not to rush this. And if you're new to this, you'll probably find that you sort of almost panic a little bit, but don't worry if you get it in the wrong order. Now turn your hands out, the wild goose. And then parting the hands. So just aware of the changes from one movement to another in movements of our body, some movements, some aspects of that movement are transferable to all the exercises, particularly movements from the legs. Others more specific to a particular exercise. Notice the changes in our mind and our awareness, maybe with the change of imagery, intention. And changes in the patterns of movement, the flow of energy. Drawing on all three of those aspects. Maybe if it suits you, as you go into this stage of the sequence, just taking a nice, gentle, deep in breath. See how that feels. Let's do one more round. Keep the movement up and down in your hips, still sinking your hips down, letting your hands drop down, putting your attention, your intention to one side though, feeling the expansion. At the top of the movement, just wind your arm around. This is called Dragon Plucks the Stars. Finish on one side and then move your attention and intention to the opposite side, extending up and trapped down, and just trying to feel the extension from the foot up the side of your leg, past your hip, belly, into the rib cage, and finally into your arm, and then the contraction. Same way. So there's an elastic band going up through your body. You're just extending out and allowing it to trap slowly back in. Dragon Plucks the Stars. Do one more on each side. And then let your hips drop back a little bit again, coming back to the basic posture, standing for a moment. A couple of slow, gentle breaths. Keep your legs in shape. So in those exercises, we were going down a little bit deeper. How deep is, it depends on your legs, your knees, of course. We don't want to strain anything, but we start to get a very strong sense of a downward and an upward movement. Gravity pulling our hips down and the resilience springing us in our legs from the ground, pushing us up. This is one of the most important sort of energetic cycles that we deliberately and intentionally work with in Tai Chi. Not the only one, but it's constantly present. And the basic stance, the higher stance, should allow that to happen. Because if I stand with my knees locked back, everything tightens up. It's like I'm pushing up against gravity, straining against gravity. I allow my hips to drop back, I allow free passage of gravity through my body, yet I still don't collapse. So there is still that resilience in my legs and perhaps even down into the skeleton that suggests an upward movement. So as I stand in this posture, there's a, if you like, a balance, a harmony between those two. I'm held between the upward movement and the downward movement, supported by both, feeling that sense of movement within the body. So using that idea, bring your hands to your sides. Just see if you can lightly touch the side of your hips with the inside of your arm, whatever's comfortable. And then from there, pushing up, feel the lengthening through your back and your spine. Extend up and then slowly down. Let your hands come back to rest on your hips. And then again, as though you're stretching out the elastic band, pushing out sideways. And as you do, turn just a little bit to one side, turn back, and once again, come back to this resting position. Turn the other way. So the turn comes from that central part of the body, which is the part of the body that you're making that physical link with. You bring your hands back, and then pushing it. Pushing in 4 directions. Each movement is punctuated by this moment of just settling in, bringing our attention to the center of the body, from there to the ground. Before we move out again, not hurrying, again, that sense of stillness, calmness beginning to build for us. Moving through water or stretching out elastic bands, giving the movement a stronger feel. It's almost as though the expansion comes from that center part of your body, draws into there. One of the things that Tai Chi really emphasizes is this embodiment of ideas. When we talk about being centered, it's a phrase that sometimes people talk about in terms of being calm, being more aware, less frantic. In Tai Chi, being centered is located in the center part of your body, in the way it rests in the ground. So there's a physical location. We begin to hardwire the nervous system to enable us to move into that point in our minds more regularly. This is again one of the long-term benefits of the practice. Being centered is not an abstract concept or metaphor, very much related to the central part. If we practice this, find that we're more able to find this quality of stillness, centeredness in our daily lives. And pushing in 4 directions. And then some let your hands drop down, still perhaps lightly touching the side of your body. And again, on one side, feeling the expansion, pushing your arm out, draw your fingers back a little bit. Let your hands swing up just above your head and straight. It's called circling palms. Imagine you're standing beneath an old arched doorway like you get in a church and sliding the palm of your hand around that room. With a slight pressure outwards. And they're opening up through one side of the body. This time, when you get to this top position, just turn a little bit again in your waist and your hips. The hand come down. So not only is that center part of the body really useful for recognizing a still point within the body that we can bring our attention to, but when we move from the center, we move in all parts of the body. The arms don't move independently. Changing sides. Another arm just hanging down, feeling quite heavy. So when we move from the center of the body, expand from there when we turn. It affects all parts of the body, so it becomes a very strong point of focus for our attention for all sorts of reasons. And then return. Remember that we're trying to cultivate that spaciousness within the body. So when you do a movement like this, pushing your hand up and then turning, don't go to the full extreme of the movement. You want to feel that you could have moved a little bit further to enable the energy to still flow. Now, going back to this sinking down motion. So my pelvis, as I do this, just adjust very gently. Now try not to pull your belly in, tighten across your hips or buttocks. So just allowing your pelvis to naturally find its level. And that helps to keep us upright. We're going to change that now. So very gently with your knees and very carefully with your back as you sink down. Push your hips back so your pelvis tilts. That means your head and shoulders go forwards. From here, just allowing gravity to pull your hips back, and that levels off your pelvis and brings your head and shoulders back to the upright, and then push up. Again, go kind of lengthening through your back and your spine. And as you come up, try and keep that sense of length. So you don't strain in your back, your shoulders, or your neck, simply to find that upright position. Using gravity to help you come to the upright rather than fighting against it. This is very distinctive in Tai Chi. This time, as you push up, your arms follow the movement, and then hips go back. This is called rowing a boat in the middle of the leg. That extension in your back, blowing out through your hands, fingers. Again, there's that moment of settling in. Very much. This time, as you come back to the upright, bring your hands in front, palm down in front of your belly, turn horizontally, then push the hips back to send the hands forwards. Turn again, swinging your hips across, come back, sink down, come into the upright position. It's called polishing the table. Turning again, feeling it out. When we move in the middle of the body, so much can change. Back, so you can see all cleared up. Exaggerating slightly, very nice and easy. Push my hips back, dropping down a little bit, swinging around, hips dropping down and back. Polishing the table. Come on, in each direction. And then just letting your hands come to rest on your belly for a few moments as you stand. The phrase that we often use in Tai Chi is that the movement is rooted in the feet. This gives us the physical foundation for the body to begin to adjust and to lose tightness, to feel more stable, of course. It's also the rooting down, as we've discovered, that is the prelude to the upward rising, expanding. The movement is transmitted through our legs because the legs are the parts of the body that connect us to the feet and to the ground. It's distinguished, it's guided, it's moved through the center of the body. And we can see that from the exercise we've done. I turn in one direction or another, that moves my hands. I tilt the center of the body, and I begin to affect the alignment. We begin to lose that requirement to strain in our shoulders or our back just to remain upright. That helps to again create that spaciousness within the body, particularly the upper body, and all of that comes to fruition and is expressed through the upper body and arms. So this requires a switch in our perspective from the outer body, from the arms and the hands, to something more deeply embedded within the body. And this is something that we gradually learn to cultivate. Again, we're having an effect on the mind, we're having an effect on the nervous system, we're having an effect on the energy in that sense. These are the things that spill over into your daily life as you begin to become more familiar with the So have your feet maybe slightly wider than hip width apart. They can be a little bit turned out here. And just begin to transfer your weight from one side to another. Give yourself a moment to settle down into each leg. Feel that movement downwards. So this stops us rushing. It's not left, right, left, right, left, right. It actually means that there's this little kind of a common sense. It's just settling down. This is seeking the stillness within. And it's very practical. If you imagine doing this on something like a trampoline or a bouncy castle, it would take a moment before you felt the response pushing you up. And sometimes we can feel that we can only take that quality of stillness, that spaciousness, calmness, when everything else is sorted. But we can begin to see with these arts that they're not separate. They're not things that exist in their own right. The movement needs the stillness to really feel that sense of the energy coming from the ground. The stillness needs the movement as an expression for somewhere for the energy to go. Now bring your hands again, just lightly rested by your hips. Move your weight into your left foot, so mirror my movement. Push your left knee forward so your heel comes up. Notice how your body shifts across. Face the heel, going across, push the knee forwards. So your upper body's coming more into line with one leg, more to the point where your center of gravity can drop straight down through that leg. Don't go too far. You don't want your center of gravity to be out there because you'll go flying. When you come across into your left leg this time, turn to your left. Notice how the right hip comes across, and that pushes the right hand, I beg your pardon, down. Turn your hand palm down, come back to the center. Across the other side, turn so that now it's the left hip coming around, pushing the left hand out. Rotate the hand, so left hand is palm down, right hand is palm up. Coming across, pushing out. Imagine just pushing your fingers into soft mud. Your arm extending out from your shoulder very gently. And this time aware also that particularly with that push from the ground, there's an upward aspect to the movement that pushes your hand up. Expanding in one side, as we've already done in a couple of the exercises. This is called hitting the ball in front of the shoulder. And when we start to get a movement like this flowing, when we start to get that sense, not just one part of the body, but the whole of ourselves, body, mind, energy, the three treasures of Tai Chi, working as one, we start to get a very dynamic, a very powerful movement. Combination of stillness and movement, of awareness and intention, expansion and contraction, starts to develop this sense of resilience, of strength within the body. This is a different approach to strength, approach to conditioning. Hitting the ball in front of the shoulder. Keeping the same movement in your legs and your hips. This time, let your hands drop down, palm out, fingers spread out a little bit. And as you go across your arms, just naturally swing into a gentle curve. And we're going to build on that again, feeling the patterns of expansion, contraction within your body as you move across, and building on that, just letting your arms swing up a little bit higher until eventually, very gently, you find yourself bringing your hands up. But once above shoulder height, we don't do that often in Tai Chi. But as you do this, you look towards the corner and you gaze out. This is called cow gazes at the minute. Swinging across. Arms feeling quite heavy. They're like the horns of the cow. Like heavy, swinging across and then expanding upwards. The intention is to look out a little bit further. There's a very energizing quality to that. What you may find, and there's no necessity to do this, but if you have the space, or if you're able to create the space, you may turn a little bit further. But be very careful that you don't tighten up in your back or your shoulders forward to demonstrate this. It's really accompanied by this deliberate releasing and dropping through our hips. That creates a little bit more space. But this is not a competition to see who can move the furthest. Now gaze one more time. And come back to this. It's not always the case that we value bigger movements above smaller movements in Tai Chi. Quite often the reverse. that the smaller movements, the smaller changes in the body, remembering that those changes are often the ones that are most influenced by mind, by intention, by imagery, are the building blocks, the bricks and mortar that build the bigger movements. So I would say to particularly people more experienced, if you do an exercise like we've just done, cow gazes at the moon, don't go straight into the bigger movements. Sometimes the smaller movements reveal more about what is going on and how we can bring our intention to those qualities and to build the movement from the inside out. These are Dogg's internal movements. So again, standing, turn your left foot out, step forward with your right foot again. So again, aware of the space between your legs and just transferring your weight forwards and back. It's almost like you're straddling a ball, like one of these big balls you get in the gyms, and just rolling forwards, your center rolling forwards and dropping into the front leg, rolling back, dropping into the back leg. Again, just taking that moment to settle, allow the root to build again. Chances are you will lose some aspects of the posture, the transition from one foot to another. Feeling that sense of a movement of rising from the ground through your legs. But this time, rather than that pushing us up, as we've done previously, the intention is for that weight, for that movement, move your weight from one foot to another. Transferring your weight is a very fundamental process. Every time we move, there is some kind of weight transfer. So it's useful to really feel this, to investigate this. Let's take our time. Now, once again, when you go into the front foot, you push your back knee in, and there's a slight shift, realigning over the front leg. When you come back, raise your toes, just softening the front hip, allow that down. So gradually, more of your weight settles in to each foot. Notice there's again that slight resting, that moment of stillness. In that time, you have the opportunity to just notice what's going on with the posture and making adjustments. And then, from this point, you're able to step in. When you push one foot out, your heel goes down, and the ball of your foot, you gently press into the floor and let your weight move. When you step back, it's the ball of your foot that goes down first, then your heel, then the press, the plant. Don't take too long a step, but make sure that you keep the width of your step. So you're walking on thin ice. Don't just let your weight drop. Make sure your foot is in position. That little bit of a press will test the ice, and then you move the weight. Don't stiffen up in your shoulders or your arms. Learning to check out now, learning to have confidence in your body's ability to support itself, particularly when you're able to drop your center of gravity. So this takes time and practice to do. It's a tricky exercise, that one, but really important. Now, here, let's try that on the other side. So, phrase that we often use for this is that our legs fill with the weight, empty of it. So, ideally, what you want to feel is as your weight begins to move, you feel the pressure of that weight in your empty foot. So when I go forwards, I feel my foot being gently pushed towards the ground, and then the weight fills up towards my head. You may find that quite difficult. You may notice there's resistance there, but this is just something to gently work with. You need to take your time with this. Don't overlook the physical conditioning that goes with this. Very gently, beginning to raise your toes and your heel. Not rushing. You can imagine moving through water and doing this, feeling both the support from the water, but also the way your body moves into the water, feeling the contrasting sensations between front and back as you make the change direction. Stepping in. Arms in your back. These are shorter than normal steps for most. Perhaps a bit wider as well. Take a few steps through, forwards or backwards, depending on where you have the space. Just taking your time. Imagine parallel lines going across the floor. You're going to move, tram lines. And then change the direction. Notice how my foot comes in each time. There's a contraction inwards again towards the center and then back out. Yin, drawing in, contracting, yang, expanding outwards. This is rhythm touch. So bringing the upper body back into the whole practice, being careful not to lose that awareness of what's happening in the feet. I'd really recommend practicing those last couple of exercises over and over again, giving them full attention so that we just naturally begin to move from the ground. When we do that, we move the whole body. One part of the body is the motion. The whole body is the motion. Remember, it's the center of the body and the ground that leads us to this sense of spaciousness, and calmness, and stillness. So, building on that, bring your hands rest on your belly, have most of your weight into your back foot. Push forwards and let that movement push your elbows out, and your hands separate, chest opens, and then this pigeon spreads its wings, and it's like a wave that starts in your back foot, comes into your belly, solar plexus, and up into your chest. On the side, the arms to remain in front of the body. Don't pull them back like this because you'll tighten the chest with the idea to allow space for movement, the flow of the energy, the movement, like breathing. Space for the lungs to expand and contract. Just allowing your breath to set into a nice, steady, and itself quite calming quality, soothing quality. Movements really help to activate those parts of ourselves that we need to develop this sense of calmness. Parts of the body that are often underused. This time, bring your hands come down, let them drop down to your sides, go forwards, and as you settle into the front, put your arms swing through. Again, a very smooth, natural curve in the move. This is fisherman cast and neck. Notice that my hands trail behind my shoulders until I settle in the back leg, until I settle in the back leg. I'm not leading with my arms, rooted in the feet, in the ground, transmitted through our legs, directed, guided through the center of the fisherman casting net. Again, remember that image of moving through water. Well, I mentioned elastic bands earlier. slightly different image as your hands swing out. Imagine elastic bands, wrists, to your hips. And that wave-like movement through the body. And this time, when you settle into your front leg, turn a little bit to your left so that your arms are redirected again. Coming back, let your hands drop down again. They curve down, they begin to curve up. Turn to your right. This is called wind blows the windlass. Weight moves, you settle into the front leg, you turn. Very soft in the shoulders. It's the expansion, the expanding energy is there. Not twisting in your back, just turning in the center of your body. So we're able to preserve that open, spacious feeling. Allows for the rhythm, flow, expansion, traction. Wind blows the place. Check it out. Then the other foot forward. So start with your weight in your back foot. First one we did was pigeon sprinters. Expanding. Movement begins around with the feet and the legs. Builds upwards and finally reaches your heart. One more time. And then your hand drop down. Fisherman cast a minute. You're trailing your fingers through things. Feeling the connection from feet to hips, hips to shoulders, shoulders to hips. Extending out, contracting. Then extending into windows and willows, and turning in the center of the body. So turning, moving from that point of stillness. Combine this with the step in that we did a few moments ago. Now, as you come forwards and turn, push your back knee in, bring your foot in if you're going forwards, or do it the opposite way around, space is behind you. Step through, plant the foot. As you lower the toes, begin to lower your hips. Forwards, turning, expanding, planting the foot, planting the ball of the foot. This is dragonfly skins the boot. But you may find from here as you're able to just raise the leg a little bit, If you find that that throws you off, then just leave the toes down. You need to be able to raise your leg without compromising the alignment of your pelvis. Hips dropping back. Changing direction. So there's still very much a strong focus of attention in that center part of your body, dropping down to the ground. Dragon biceps. And then as I said at the start of the session, there's many images in Tai Chi. In this basic posture, when our weight begins to sink, we get that connection downwards into the ground and subsequent settling of our attention, quieting of our attention, and recognizing how significant that is for the movement, for the expansion. We develop a quality that in Tai Chi we call central equilibrium, Zhongding's Chinese term. And the image for central equilibrium, one of the images for central equilibrium, is the mountain. And this last exercise is called Embrace Tiger, Return to the mountain. This recognizes that we don't always feel rooted, centered, calm, spacious, but that we can find a way back. And the tiger is just everyday life in all its glory and ups and downs and energies and so on and so forth. There's no intention to reject that at all, but to also acknowledge the significance of being centered, of stillness, bringing those two into a sense of harmony. Yin yang are not separate qualities; they're two parts of the same whole. And but for everything to be whole, for everything to be wholesome, perhaps we need both working together, not pulling against each other. So, with closing exercise, coming back to this basic stance, letting your hips sink down again as you push up, your arms coming out, a bit like the wild goose that we did earlier, but bring your hands around as though you're going to hold a ball against your chest. Drawing in, turn your hands palm down, so you're pressing down on the ball and drop down, returning to feeling the pull of gravity already on your hips and your shoulders, feeling the potential to blend with that, to allow gravity to bring us back to the mountain. We will begin to find qualities that we're able to take with us into our daily lives. What is it that brings you back to the mountain? Is it that pull of gravity of your hips, the image of the mountain, some other sensation, some other image? What would be most useful to you later in the day when perhaps there's a bit of frustration, suddenly feel very rushed, need of that quality of stillness just for a moment? How can we come back to it? What brings you back? Come back to stand. Just let your arms drop down. Close your eyes if it helps. Again, if it's comfortable for you, just take a couple of slow. Thank you very much, everybody. That was, well, I enjoyed that. I hope that was useful to you. Thanks for coming along and joining in. Please feel free to get in touch with me if you do have any questions at any point. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your day.